Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Commentary as Magic Stream on tonight, Sunday, November 10th, 2019. And as always, Grand Pause.
Pretty sure Big Cheese is completely dead to the world following a, 10-hour time zone change?
Something like that.
Yeah. I'm Arcat, and...
I'm Ivory.
Hi, Ivory.
And low. I'm over my post-con exhaustion.
Sounds good.
Only took about a week.
I mean, it's about how long it normally takes.
That's fair. Continentals is an event. That's for sure.
It is, in fact, an event.
Yes. Not a resource. Well, it is kind of a resource, too. And, in a way, it's like a friend to all of us.
Question.
Yes?
Can I call Continentals with my mimics?
Sure.
You must pay 3 additional action tokens to go to play in Continentals.
That's when we just move it to Greenland and everyone's travel becomes more expensive. How's that sound?
Shoutouts to any players who are in Greenland.
Yeah, there you go. There's the good one for you.
European Continentals in Greenland. Sounds good.
Continentals was an absolute blast this time around. Thank you so much to everyone who came out there to participate and compete. And hey, it grew over the last year for the second year in a row.
Went a little robot there.
Oh, I was saying, and we also grew in attendance over the previous year for the second year in a row.
Woo.
Woo.
Yay. Louder?
Louder. Yay.
I don't think you want louder.
No, that's fine. But this Continentals had several really cool aspects to it, not the least of which was a player crowned Continental Champion who had never been Continental Champion before. So that's very exciting. And probably as good a place as to start with our recap, don't you think?
Seems acceptable.
That seems about right, yeah. Let's take a look at our first place deck here.
So this is clearly a deck.
This is clearly a deck. And this is a main and a color combination that I don't think a lot of people were really expecting to make this kind of showing, but...
Well, it depends. I believe he ran this last year, or at least a version of this last year. Obviously, some cards weren't out yet.
Well, yes, he did.
Yes.
We should say that this is the champion. This is the winning deck, which was piloted by Joshua Stuick. So congratulations, Joshua, on your first Continental or North American Continental Championship win.
Now he just needs to throw himself over to Europe and win that one.
So let's take a look and see what's going on here.
Well, what's going on up in the corner is Lyra.
Lyra provides a method of being able to refill your hand for a very small amount of AT. In order to do that, you need ways to be able to get cards out of your hand. Let's look at the very first card in that draw deck there. The Apple Bloom's Remarkable.
So you're telling me that I can exchange extra cards in my hand for action token?
That is exactly what I'm telling you. I'm also telling you that just 2 cards over with Smart Cookie, you can exchange those discarded cards yet again for more power.
Temporary power, admittedly, but power nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. We see Bailout, which is another way of getting cards out of your hand quickly to disrupt opposing characters.
You're roboting again.
Yep. Bailout can disrupt opposing characters, specifically opposing mains, like farming mains.
Yeah, that's kind of a good card. And by the way, it gets stuff into your discard, which is cool.
But why would I want to discard cards? I want my cards.
Well,
It'd be a shame if there was an effect that, just put those cards back into your hand or something after you've gotten the benefit of discarding it.
what
Yeah.
you mean, like follow my lead?
Yeah. It'd be a shame if there were a cheap way to move things around to trigger follow my lead too, wouldn't it?
Sure would. Let's consider this engine here for a second, because this is really a thing of beauty. Haven Bay, Pirate Ship, Apple Bloom, follow my lead. So what you have is a character that says whenever you move it, you can put a power counter on it. And whenever you put a power counter on it, you can exhaust it to draw a card. You also have Apple Bloom, who says discard any card from your hand, exhaust this card, and pay 1 AT less to play your next card, whatever it is. Resource, friend, event, doesn't matter. So if we discard a follow my lead with Apple Bloom in order to get a cost reduction on, say, a friend that we want to play, we can then use a pirate ship that's in play to move Haven Bay, make Haven Bay larger, exhaust Haven Bay to draw a card, and return the follow my lead from our discard pile to our hand.
That's kind of sick. It also involves 4 cards, but
that's a lot of value, though.
It's a darn shame that this is so good at drawing cards, though.
As far as control options here, Food Fight hits very big, important threats, which is nice. Bailout can also do that temporarily. Desert Road is one of the best cards for answering opposing friends that enter play with powerful abilities. And worst comes to worse, I mean, you've still got the Bailout combination with DJ Pony Breakdown, so...
And a card that I think is probably seeing one of its first competitive debuts here in Sorry Stamp. This has a lot of Earth Ponies, so you're almost always going to get both of those effects off of that.
It's true, and paying only 3 AT to play Sorry Stamp, or sometimes even less if you have multiple Apple Blooms, makes that feel a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Pony, of course, takes many cards in the meta right now that like to exhaust, like Starlight Glimmer, or Paper Twilight, or Selena Blue, or Cloud Chaser and Flitter, or any of these other friends where you don't even have to touch them. They'll make themselves vulnerable to your removal by themselves.
Yeah. That's a card that I think I'm actually going to miss a little bit from Core, but at the same time, I definitely never want to see that card ever again.
Right.
But you don't like the DJ Pony with the chainsaw in her hands?
I only
Hooves,
like
whatever.
it. I only like it if I control them, which I think is admittedly true of a lot of things.
I think we need to also point out that there were several decks in this meta that, as far as disruption went, could only afford to run Frighten effects. Didn't run really anything else, or at least nothing that could target or affect single individual friends. Rockhoof cannot be frightened. This means that as long as Rockhoof keeps his abilities, and there's cards that or characters that continue to have more and more power, Rockhoof's only going to get bigger. I believe we did in fact see a Rockhoof with 15 power counters on him at one point.
We did, in fact. And if you watch the stream, you'll notice that this was represented with a... Grandpa's, what kind of card would you call that card?
The card is a quinceañera card. I would call it a quinceañera card, because I can never keep those two terms straight. But it was pretty adorable. So, really clever deck. Did a lot of work, had ways of interacting with particular decks in the meta that players just didn't. I think that's really what helped him pull ahead.
Yep, this is pretty unique.
Yep, great job, Joshua.
Shall we
Let's take a look at our next deck.
a look at the pile of decks that he had to fight through to get to the top place.
Starting with
Starting
his
with
finals opponent.
his finals opponent. That is correct. This was piloted by Taft A. And huge shout out to him because he went into the finals. He was not a happy camper. He had a head cold and con crud at that point. But he still made it close.
Yeah, he showed up basically dead to the world for the top 4 on Sunday morning, and it was amazing watching him as long through his matches slowly start to come out of this and come out of the funk and become a bit more alert. And ultimately, by the time he got to the end of the game, he still wasn't feeling great, but man, he looked a lot better.
It's amazing what a cup of tea will do.
Right?
Alright, so what do we got here? I see a lot of troublemakers, so we're obviously dealing with a farming deck.
Mm-hmm. Ambassador
It's
loyalty.
Blue, yeah. Rainbow main, so okay, that's good for farming. It's got a pretty decent pedigree here. Some purple, which almost all of this is just intended to sit there and cause problems for the opponent.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a key distinction in this deck compared to the other farm decks in the meta, and that is that other farm decks actually had a tendency to play or rely on some of their friends a little bit more. There is exactly one unique friend in this deck. There are 3 copies of it, but there's still only one. It's a Catajack.
Arr.
Which means that Pony of Shadows is going to hit that every single time, provided that all 3 copies are not just in your hand or discard pile or banished.
Yeah, this is not a deck that I would like to Sunset Festival against because it is going to lead to sadness 100% of the time.
What, you mean you don't want that 5-power orange friend?
No, I want all my other friends.
But this one's bigger and is a pirate.
But all of my other friends are more annoying.
But they're not pirates. Therefore, they are wrong.
Are we going to get into the ninjas versus pirates argument?
I mean, your deck's not running ninjas either.
How do you know? You wouldn't know.
Oh, I don't know.
Sure. Looking at other cards that are here to support that farming strategy, Flash Magnus' Shield and Staff of Sakonis obviously give extra power during face-offs, which is nice. Changeling Throne is also an excellent card because it gives Taft another way of scoring points over time if he has to. It turns out that farming decks don't spend a lot of AT. So having an AT dump that moves you closer to the end of the game is usually a nice thing.
Yeah.
There's also Sneak Attack to find individual troublemakers that you need. Magical Misfire to disrupt decks that like to pull things out of their discard pile, like some of the Tempest control lists. And School Shutdown for when you absolutely positively need everything to go away forever. Well, back in the deck anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Get used to seeing 3 copies of School Shutdown in decks.
It's going to happen a little bit.
Let's see. Looking at the problem deck here, there's not a lot of stuff that this is going to have a good time confronting, but I don't think it really minds that.
Nope. Halfway is useful for slowing down opponents. Blackmail, again, potentially free point acceleration. For times helps beat up troublemakers. Unreasonable Demands is a lot of fun because Rainbow Dash can technically confront this if she has a Staff of Sakonis and you've played Singing Barrel naming white. Concerning Cutie Mark, of course, also confrontable. And Royal Breakfast, because cards are nice. If there's one thing we learned from Joshua's deck, it's that card nice.
I don't believe you. I disbelieve the last, 4 years of competitive... No.
Oh, don't worry. When we start getting into some of the pink and purple decks, we'll see how nice cards are.
Yes. Okay.
Very cool list, though, Taft.
Let's look at our first top 4 finisher. Let's see, this is Luke W. with another farming deck, although this one actually has some friends in it.
I think we're going to see another identical copy of this list here in a bit.
Why would
So-
that happen?
I don't know. Ivory, why don't you walk us through this one?
I don't know how to play farm.
I mean, clearly.
Okay. So, Ambassador of Loyalty, once again, only unlike Taft's deck. This one has problems that it can confront, and it takes a slightly more aggro approach. It has Rainbow Dash and First Mate Mullet for hasty movement, Daybreaker because more points is always nice, and an interesting interaction that really makes this deck work is Big Mac Princess for a night and scope things out. Getting one of those Big Mac chaos effects for Rainbow Dash, you can now confront every problem in your problem deck with just your main, which doesn't sound like it matters, but it turns out it actually does quite a lot.
Does anyone remember that orange main? You know, the one that's banned now because it got power counters on it, and you couldn't interact with it?
Spike?
Yeah, we should ban all spike mains.
I mean, we should ban all spike mains, but no, the other one, the one with a hat.
Queen Chrysalis. Tiaras count as hats, right?
She's not orange. No,
She can be.
yeah.
Pick a color.
Well, no.
Oh, Apple Bloom.
Right, Apple Bloom, yes. That main. Anyway. So it's like getting power counters on mains is good or something.
Yeah, one Big Mac flip, you're set for the game. 2 Big Mac flips, and it's very unlikely you're going to lose any of those troublemaker face-offs that will get you points. And points are good. It's almost like they make you win or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Hey, look, another 3 shutdowns, too.
yeah, because it turns out those +1 power counters on your main, those don't go away. They just stick around.
Also, Big Macs are no longer at the bottom of the deck when you play that, so more power counters are possible. Not as likely, of course, but still possible.
Can still happen. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, a neat kind of different approach to farming going on here, but one that definitely allowed several players to find success.
Yep. Let's talk about our second top 4 finisher, shall we?
Sure.
Here we have a Tempest list piloted by Michael S.
It's like all it's missing is old money.
I mean,
It's also missing Portal.
Oh, that's right.
it wouldn't
And-
mind a drinking duo either.
It's fair.
This deck got hit by a lot of bans.
And it's still placed 4th. That says something.
Yeah, that does say something. There's a ton of power in this deck. Also, this is a 46 card deck, right?
Yes, I believe this is
Unfortunately.
a 46 card deck.
The 46th card this time being cracking the case.
Actually, probably a good inclusion given the meta that we saw.
Yeah, there was a lot of farm.
Mm-hmm. So, what's going on here? At its base, this is a Tempest pink control deck that also splits white for a bit of utility. Twilight Sparkle and Rarity Exposed allow you to take back Grubber again and again. Bodyguard, of course, allows you to make a bunch of unicorn tokens whenever you cause a friend to leave play. And hey, let's look at all those ways we have to cause friends to leave play. Sonata Dusk, Mistmain Uniqueness, Discord Party Clasher, Evil Twin, Belly Flop, Napcakes, Luna's
Bodyguard
Future,
himself, technically.
Bodyguard itself, School Shutdown, Party of One.
That's too
Some
many ways for stuff to leave play. Apologize.
Friends are leaving play. Which means
Also,
you're getting unicorn tokens, which means you're
did you
getting action
mention-
tokens.
You mentioned Queen Chrysalis, right?
I did.
And yeah, Queen Chrysalis disguised as old money.
Don't apologize for that one.
What's interesting is that if you look back at the meta for Friends Forever, and you look at where this deck came from, it originally had far more cards that functioned when they entered play. And I believe Meticulous Talks pointed this out yesterday as well. As cards got removed from being legal for play, it had to adapt, learned from this going to abuse enter play effects as much as possible to, well, I guess I'm just going to play control with good value.
Seems good.
Speaking of good value, hi Selena.
Selena Blue is such a good card.
You mean hi,
Let's take-
Selena? Let's back up a little bit here. Let's go hi, Paper Twy, hi,
Okay.
Guidance Counselor, hi, Selena. Just like there's nothing but value in this deck.
Yeah.
And
Also, Bait and Switch.
And Bait and Switch does some more too.
yeah, get Discord over there for a little bit of that portal action. Actually, you know what? Forget all those cards. Let's look up in the problem deck here and just point at that Trading Traditions. Hi. Yeah, that's what I thought.
So that was by far the most infuriating part about this style of control deck is there are so many cards that are just absolutely great to play on turn 2. Tempest can either bank until turn 2 to play a Starlight and then flip, or she can bank, flip, and then either play Paper Twilight or Selena Blue because Trading Traditions gives you the 3 pink you need automatically. And let me tell you, that is infuriating, and it happens way more often than it should.
How much do you like playing against this deck?
I hate playing against this deck.
What, you don't like seeing your opponent drop a Paper Twy, a Selena Blue, next turn drop a Guidance Counselor, Sonata Dust, get both problems?
No.
I feel like this is a situation that has happened, and you're not just speaking in a hypothetical here.
This is a situation that happens every time I've played against this deck. And I'm sure for many other players as well, not just myself.
All right. Yeah, I think
So.
that's probably the greatest compliment that anyone can give a control deck is I hate playing against this deck.
We heard it several times at the Continentals Championship. So to Trading Traditions, to Singing Barrel, I say goodbye and good riddance. I will not miss you. Oh, and Paper Twy too, out of here.
I'll miss you, but it's probably for the best.
Yeah, basically.
Actually, to that entire problem deck. Take a second here and look at that problem deck. Everyone see all the cards in it?
EO, Marks,
All gone.
Marks.
All gone. All of them out of here. Brand new problem deck. No soup for you.
I forgot Blackmail was in Marks in Time.
All right, let's look at the next deck.
All right, let's look at our first top 8 finisher. Here we have Matt R with a... I believe this is identical to the version we looked at earlier.
I'm sorry, who was running this deck?
I don't know.
Says Matt R.
Ah, okay. I didn't hear it cut out.
Oh. Man, we gotta get your internet fixed.
It's not my fault. She stole the plug. His internet is better. I'm on Wi-Fi.
We gotta get your
50,
internet fixed.
50 feet away. I know, we need a data, whatever. Anyway.
I still don't know how to play Farm.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think there's anything really new to add here.
I will say that Pony of Shadows into Zeroed Out is kind of amusing.
If there was one piece of advice that you were to give to players playing Farm, Ivory, what would it be?
Move your main to the right problem.
I'm so glad you said that, so I didn't have to.
Hey, fatigue is real. That was a long day.
It had been like 14 hours or some madness.
This was a long Continentals, so.
Yes, it was.
All right, next list.
Next list here. Okay, we've got George Z with a. I don't believe this is not identical, but it is very close to the Tempest list we just looked at. Let's
Yeah, a
see.
few more 3-ofs.
I see 2 rest in pieces.
I believe it kicks the Party of 1 and the Crack out for a 45 card deck and an extra rip.
Yep, there's another school shutdown in here, an extra party clasher, an extra bait and switch. There's no Chrysalis.
Ah, yes.
Oh, hey, look at that problem deck that's almost exactly identical except for the one lacking lesson plans.
Gotta confront sometimes.
Was probably there as a tech against farm.
I would imagine so. Gotta get some points, right?
Yeah.
Points seem okay.
Yep. Some interesting meta choices here, but ultimately, the core of the deck seem to be pretty clear.
Yeah, let's take a look here quick.
Something we should point out here is these control decks were capable of being behind in their game for almost the entire duration of time, in Swiss rounds anyway, before they would cash in their huge hoard of action tokens, say, top. This was even more exaggerated in the single elimination rounds, where you didn't have an individual game timer, but instead a 2-hour match timer. There were several games where these control players found themselves down 2 points to, say, 9 or even more, and over the next 20, 30, 40 minutes, maintained a lock on the game and eked their way back up there to even force a concession on that game from opponents. So,
Control gets very scary when that timer goes beyond 35 minutes into 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Yes, it does.
You need to win fast, because the longer you let control sit there and build, the more difficult it's going to be.
yeah, there were several players that recognized that as well, and even though they could have potentially still fought against the momentum control was beginning to gain, they recognized it was going to take too much time, and they'd rather just get a better start, including going first, so they'd concede one game to move to the next.
It's a viable strategy once you get to those best 2 of 3.
Yes,
Definitely is.
you do have to keep that in mind. All right.
Next list.
Okay, let's look at our third top 8 finisher. This is David P. with a Balloona Yellow list. And there's a couple of cards to chill anyone's heart.
Oh, look at all the Fluttershies.
I'm looking at that one up in the corner there. The one that
No,
says
no, no.
Rainbow Dash on even ground.
No,
I'm looking at the one below it.
I'm not looking at either of those cards. I don't like those cards.
Now, see, the one below it isn't actually that concerning to me, because this is just blue-yellow, and it doesn't have a way to take all my stuff.
If you're not concerned with Shoeshine, I got bad news.
I mean, I'm concerned with Shoeshine. The problem is she could be a lot more concerning. It's like the difference between a bear outside your house and a bear that's like, already in your kitchen eating your stuff.
I don't like either of these options. Can I get a secret option C?
No, sorry, the bear is a fact of life. Look at that. Does this look like the face of Mercy?
Why are all the meanest cards in this game smiling ponies?
Because all the cards in this game are smiling ponies?
I mean, Lemon Hearts isn't smiling. She actually looks quite concerned.
This is fair.
So, at its core, this is a mostly traditional on even ground, I believe, actually a more unique inclusion for some of the lists that we saw. I can't remember if all of them were running it or not.
I believe that this was the only one, at least the only one that I saw that played on even ground. If the others were running it, it never saw play from what I noticed.
I believe that was actually substituted out for Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy Words of Encouragement. I think that was the swap.
I believe this was the deck as submitted. There were some hand corrections and some confusions on this one.
Yeah. This deck has a lot of ways around troublemakers. That makes it pretty good in a meta where a lot of people are farming or trying to maintain a fragile troublemaker control wall.
Yeah.
Pony Pirate in particular deserves special mention here.
Fluttershy over there.
Yes. It doesn't matter where Fluttershy enters play, as long as she still has her ability. No opposing troublemaker will stop you from confronting problems for the rest of that turn. No matter if they are in play already or enter play later that turn.
Yeah, just all of these, just out of here. All of you, go away. If you could just get out of the way, that'd be... Thank you.
Yep. And there's a ton of Pegasi in here as well. All the Rainbows and Fluttershys, CC and Flitter, obviously all the Night Gliders, On Even Ground, Swinging Wonders, all the Fluttershys, and hey, look at all these Pegasi synergies with like Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy Chillax or Unsatisfactory Work. So in addition to be able to move Bluna back and forth, very confront problems, take a look at that problem deck.
And
that's a real easy problem deck.
Yeah, and a lot of these stuff are going to interplay with a lot more power than they say up in the corner, just thanks to either Chillax or whatever else
Philly
is going
Racers
on here. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a reason that we saw Bluna as the second most popular main at this event. Because Bluna Yellow was probably one of the best aggro options, or best traditional aggro options, I should say.
Yeah. It shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that this goes fast.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at our final top 8 finisher. And I think this one probably takes my award for most unique deck in top 16.
I think it kind of has to.
Yeah. So up in the corner there, that is in fact Fluttershy, but that's not Nurturing Nature. That's Ambassador of Kindness.
Show of hands from behind your computer screens. Who remembers what Ambassador of Kindness's boosted ability is without looking it up on Ponyhead or anywhere else?
I mean, I think it says something about calming.
Now what's the other ability say?
I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Something about going into your opponent's hand? I don't know.
Oh no, it's something about losing an action token at the start of a face-off?
Start of a problem face-off, specifically.
That's, like, this main does not see a lot of play.
And that's an understatement.
And here
this
it is.
Main sees zero play, except for here.
Right, so what are we looking at here? The secondary color is obviously purple. I mean, action tokens are cool, right? And that's basically all it's using them for, because all of the purple stuff is an action token generator of one form or another, I believe.
That's it. Sunburst, Paper Twy, Glimmer, Gone Batty.
And even in the problems, that's also true.
Trouble with Trixie and Entrance Exam. There you go. That's very true.
Just action tokens.
So if it's only using those for action tokens, what is it doing? What's going on?
Well, what's going on here is there's an awful lot of cards that seem to say Calming or Return to Hand.
Yeah? Let's look. Fluttershy Stairmaster, Angel, Princess Celestia Solar Serenity, Kind Pony, Terramar, Yona, Lilo, Tough Love, Unsatisfactory Work, Mix Up, and the Piece de Resistance.
Bedtime?
Left corner right there. Yeah.
Bedtime. Yeah.
Bedtime is a resource that many players have tried to make work at one point or another, and this is the first time we've seen it really be successful. If a friend would be put into its owner's hand from play, that friend is banished instead.
So,
Ain't no coming back from that one.
so remember all those things that bounce stuff to their owner's hands? Yeah. A lot of that stuff isn't optional either. And I just enjoy the lovely little interaction between Bedtime and Big Mix-Up where it's like, okay, so either you lose that forever or you give me a point. Your choice. No pressure.
Now, I'm sure we'll also get to this here when we go down through the other top 16 decks. This deck, this particular list, came in at 16th seed in the top 16.
Mm-hmm.
And faced a horde of competition that it was very likely not going to be able to interact with well. The farm decks that weren't running a lot of friends, control decks that could easily remove its biggest threats, or reshuffle cards into decks again. It was going to be rough. But the top seed going into top 16 matches was perhaps this deck's best possible matchup. And, hey, it took the match, so.
Yeah, that it did. Let's take a look at that deck, shall we?
You want to look at it?
I think we should, because
All right.
this is our last top 8 deck here, and we shall start looking at the top 16 finishers. So this is piloted by... Oh, sorry, the previous one was piloted by Brandon P. This deck here is piloted by Max G. And
I know this deck.
I know you know this deck. You know what else I notice about this deck? There's an awful lot of things in here that have really big numbers in those little cost bubbles.
Yeah, but, I mean, you're not really going to be playing those, right? That doesn't seem right. There's no AT generators in here.
No, that's not really the intent. The problem is, though, there is an awful lot of investment required to get some of these things into play, and that previous deck says, that's nice, honey. Take your ball and go home.
Yeah. Turns out Yona is not this deck's friend.
No. Absolutely not.
That being said, against just about any other matchup, including many of the farm matchups here, this deck, which is a Reanimator style deck, does pretty well.
Yeah,
Tricorns are scary.
Yeah, there's just a giant list of annoying stuff in this deck. Shut your main's ability off if you're using them to farm. Wipe everything out. Get rid of all the troublemakers. Scare things. Also, it costs more to rally stuff. Discard stuff. Discard even more stuff. Mill stuff off the top of your deck. It's just...
Banish your friends. Play my events again. Tax your events. Draw more cards. Frighten your stuff. Make my stuff bigger and not leave play.
It seems kind of good. As long as it's on your side of the field.
Yep.
I was looking over at a game that this deck was in progress, and I saw a Luna Midnight, Twilight Sparkle, and a Moon Dancer all in play, and I'm just sitting there thinking, what do you even do against that other than do the calming bedtime thing?
I mean, that's about it. So the deck relies on getting friends out of this card pile, and it has a few ways to do that. 3 redeeming qualities and 3 Orchard Blossoms. But one of the biggest things this deck has going for it is 2 copies of Heartstrong as Horses and 2 copies of Moon Dancer. By staggering the use of redeeming qualities and hearts along with Moon Dancer as well...
Getting a little bit robot here.
you can bring back upwards of, I want to say it's like 12 or 13 friends over the course of a game.
Ew.
It might even be more.
Ew. Just ew.
And it turns out that paying 3 AT for a cadence is pretty good. So, Bailout and Cracking the Case obviously do very well against posing farm decks. Luna and Zomponies, along with Queen Chrysalis, do very well against opposing aggro decks. Catajack does great against Swarm. Yeah, it's a cool deck.
It's got good answers to a lot of things, doesn't it?
Yeah. Also, spoilers, most of those friends you see in there, most of those aren't rotating.
Hmm. Well, a couple of significant things are rotating though.
Sure.
This is losing its main. It's going to lose several problems, trading traditions included.
Uh-huh.
It's going to lose a handful of those cards. Redeeming qualities being one of the more significant ones.
That one does hurt. However, it keeps infiltrating. It keeps Smolder and Sandbar. It gets to run the new Student 6 main, and it has a new cheaper song in 3 colors that can serve in the place of redeeming qualities. So we'll have to see what happens.
It's going to be interesting.
What's next?
How about a Bologna deck piloted by TJ? C. I think this is very familiar. It looks a lot like the one that we just took a look at. The difference here, I believe, is that there is a Words of Encouragement in place of...
Jerkface.
Jerkface, yes, correct.
Yep, I think there's like 1 or 2 others that got tweaked, but otherwise...
Looks
Luna Yellow.
very similar. Bologna Yellow, she go fast.
Anything to add, Avery?
I mean, the deck speaks for itself, I believe.
It should be noted, since there was some confusion at Continentals on this, the main's boosted ability does trigger when you play a friend, not when one of your friends enters play. So while Industrial Revolution is still definitely a great problem, especially in conjunction with like Shoeshine, that token entering was not played, and therefore will not trigger your main to cause it to move.
Yeah, that doesn't count. Bologna would get kind of silly otherwise.
Yeah.
She's silly enough. She doesn't need that.
Yeah, at that point, you'd start seeing Blue and Yellow that issues a lot of its friends for cards like Rise and Shine.
We're going full stupid here. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, another top 16 finisher, Kevin C. with... I believe this is identical to the Tempest list that placed in top 4.
I
Close.
don't believe so, no.
No,
There's a
it
few
is
differences.
very close.
2 Crackings, 3 Chrissies, only 1 Exposed, 3 Miss Mains,
1 less Mimics.
1 less Selena.
And
No,
one less Mimics, yeah.
And 1 less Barrel.
Yeah.
So some number changes.
Mm-hmm.
But the core is the same.
The core is the same. The meta call differences here, I think, would be interesting to look into a little bit, but unfortunately, I don't believe we have any of the players to make comments on why those meta choices were made.
It seemed like everyone had a decent idea of what options they should include, at least, though.
Yes. Next up. Here. Oh, this deck. All right. Jonathan S. Piloting. Yeah.
I heard you're a huge fan of this.
I was told I could not hiss.
No hissing.
But if I could hiss, I would hiss.
I think it is worth pointing out that I believe this is the only deck we saw in top 16 that is completely Defender's Block, or rather, new core legal.
Yeah, I think that says something about the relative power of this deck, that it's essentially playing with a handicap, and it's still got into top 16.
Yellow's good, folks. It took 4 years, but it's finally good.
Now, the problem is, yeah, Yellow got its boots on. It's started kicking really, really hard.
It's a 47 card deck, I believe, as well.
Interesting. Yeah, but the operation of this, I think we've discussed in the past. Almost everything here will be kept at problems by treading water, and what's not, you've got Day Shift around to keep the trader to the hive at problems. It's real hard to win DFOs when almost all of the power stays at the problems.
Yeah, being sticky is a big advantage of a lot of aggro decks. It's one of the reasons that Scootaloo saw a lot of play in the Marks in Time meta, is because you could start these face-offs and then immediately save yourself a ton of AT by just keeping your characters back at problems again. It's also part of the reason that Day Shift and Treading Water are so good. Day Shift in more decks than Treading Water is, but still.
Yes. And as Skitter notes in the chat there, between the trader and some of the other things going on, that Rockhoof is going to get into double digits without a problem. And by the way, printed power still won. You're going to be staying at that problem.
Mm-hmm. Stupid Treading Water, printed power.
I don't know what you're
Grumble.
grumbling about that. I think you should grumble at the card that's 2 rows up.
Nah, I don't care about that card.
Hiss at that card. Okay. Next deck?
Go for it.
Alright, here we have Japhus with a white-blue Frighten deck. I believe this deck, or a very similar rendition of it, has been around for about 2 years now.
I think we saw it up at BronyCon, right?
I remember this making an appearance at BronyCon 2017.
That sounds correct, yes.
17 or 18, yeah. You're right.
No, it would have been 18 actually. Yeah, it was 18.
Yeah.
So let's play a game here.
No.
I'm going to take this. No.
I don't want to play this game.
No, it's a great game.
No.
Trust me, you'll like this game. I'm going to shuffle up this deck, and I'm going to pick a card at random out of it, and then I'm going to exhaust Sea Poppy because I chose correctly. But I'm going to show you this card. If I show you a card at random from this deck, would you be able to tell me, is it an aggro deck or is it a control deck?
No, and that's the problem here. Like, I've played against this deck multiple times, and to echo a comment made earlier in the stream, I hate playing against this deck, and that is praise of the highest order for a control deck like this.
Yeah, when this gets online, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, the Zomponi sits there and just makes everything expensive to rally, and the torches mean stuff leaves play. Of course, there's a rack of sticks and Rutherfords.
Flash Magnus is there, of course.
T-Rex Reign of Terror, Sepocli attack.
Oh yeah, this is just rough.
There's a ton of Frighten going on here. But then, on the other side, look at all the point acceleration or aggressive plays you've got. You've got Pony Pirates, Loyal Ponies,
Generous
Limb Actuator.
You got some generous ponies. You got the Dream Cavalry. You've got Fancy Pants.
Yeah,
That can
Fancy
bring-
Pants bring back a loyal pony or generous pony seems good.
Yeah. You got Dilemmas. You got Sticks to get the main up to power and help confront stuff. And by the way, when you're in a competitive environment, Changeling Pretender usually has a really good ability. Might not
Unless
be
you're
the one
against Tempest.
might not be the one she started with, but hey.
Yeah, a very, very cool deck, and I'm glad it's one that we saw placed so well in Continentals, because it has been around for a while. So,
Yeah. There's a good chunk of this that I think will survive. It's going to lose some pretty critical things, but I think that this will successfully make a transition in some form or another to a post-rotation core meta.
sure, I can see something like that. What else we got?
All right. Next up, we've got Artyom K with a Tempest Blue list. This is also rather unique.
I don't know about you, but this looks like a counter farming deck.
Yeah, it's counter farming all the way down. Ivory said it first, Hithrock. You can't be mad at me. I hope he watches this later.
He's watching it right now.
Is he still here?
Well, we'll find out in a few minutes.
I don't know if he's still here. Oh well. This deck is cool. And that's not just because I have a soft spot for Tempest Blue White. Although I do have a soft spot for Tempest Blue White.
Spoilers.
This is a deck that is more than capable of going toe-to-toe with many other Tempest control lists, because it packs a lot of the same removal options. Napcakes, School Shutdown, Luna's Futures. It's Gonna Work is in there as permanent banishment, which is really nice. What this deck does do is play a bit more aggressively, though, through a combination of particular cards. Daybreaker is in there for point acceleration, of course. Daring Do allows you to get your AT by confronting problems. Daring Do is such a good card. And then you've got this rack of troublemakers. Some is Trixie.
Yeah. You want to run that by us again there?
You've got a rack of troublemakers, some of whom are epic, and one of whom is Trixie. There's your hint as to who might be playing this.
I mean, that doesn't seem like enough Trixie, so I don't know who you're talking about here.
Yeah, that's fair. You've also got these embers. So you can do some really neat stuff with playing control for a bit, slowly gaining up a couple points, saving up your AT, and then eventually just getting this huge burst potential with Pony of Shadows bringing in like Twilight Sparkle zeroed out to bring out another Troublemaker, or just moving Daybreaker, or it's just cool stuff. And Ember, of course, is doing double duty in protecting your Troublemakers when your opponent challenges them,
as well as helping you out when you're on the attack and going after either your own Troublemakers or someone else's.
Right.
Very interesting deck. It's got a lot of flexibility with the number of different cards it's got here. I don't really want to say it's mid-range, but I don't know.
It can aggro when it needs to.
It can. It plays more like Control, but I mean, most Control decks do. They play like Control for a while, and then eventually they just have so much momentum that they say, okay, my turn.
Gotta score points at some point, I guess.
See what you did there.
This is definitely a deck that feels the pain of old money and Portal leaving, though.
Oh, yes. This has a fair number of things in it that You could get it into white. It's old money would be a natural inclusion here, and it's very clear that there is a hole.
Yeah. But again, it still did well.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
Let's see. We've got Tim S. with a mono Fluttershy list.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of
The Queen Novo is interesting.
Sure.
the three of Queen Novos I think is interesting. The Novo I think is important to have so that you can deal with stuff like, oh, I don't know, the Traitor to the Hive. Because you are 100% okay with losing that face-off as long as you've got a Novo involved. And this also has... Oh, no, it doesn't. That's actually kind of interesting. This makes a few interesting trade-offs to me. I don't see a... Why am I... I'm just blanking. The Changeling Swarm.
Which card? Changeling
Defend
Swarm?
the Hive.
Yeah, Defend the Hive. There we go.
Yeah, that's true. No Defend Hives in here. Also, only one Marble Pie. Couple of Raptor Razors, though, and the Novos. I think this person was banking on Farm being really present in the meta.
Yeah. There's also a... The Candlelight Citizens is also kind of an interesting one. I don't think I can really fault any of these choices, though, because these are decent calls against the meta, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, AT efficiency is AT efficiency. And that's where Fluttershy Nurturing Nature really excels.
Mm-hmm.
If I can just exhaust my characters at home, I don't care if I'm losing face-offs, my problems aren't worth anything.
Yep. It's got a lot of ways to get around troublemakers, and it spends practically no tokens during normal operation. And that's real important because those bunyips.
Yeah.
Those
you
bunyips.
Want to... That's going to be your AT dump right there.
Yep.
Hey, we saw it work last year. I believe it was actually Tim running Mono Yellow last year.
Uh-huh.
And we saw it work this year.
Yep.
And something tells me we're going to see it work next year too.
I'm shocked and appalled that Mono Yellow continues to do well. This
All right,
deck...
I think we've got one more here.
Yep. One more here. Let's see. Last of our top 16 finishers. Jeff M. with Silverstream Purple.
Honk.
Honk. The Zakoras are going to be important for those farming decks. And the rest of this, I think we basically discussed a while back. I don't really know if there's much to add here.
The Sunset Festival is just such a... That is really like the rags to riches story in my mind of Defender's Block, of a card that people looked at and was like, yeah, this is fun in Limited, but I'm never going to actually play it.
See,
That
that was true right up until Pony of Shadows became a thing. And then, like, Pink just started rubbing its hooves together and grinning in a very, very concerning way.
The problem is when Sunset Festival hits, like, the one friend in your opponent's deck multiple times that does absolutely nothing for you.
Yeah.
Or,
like,
worst,
Catajacks.
you hit the Catajack,
or
and then you are sad pony.
Yeah, you whistle up their Twilight Sparkle zeroed out, and you're just like,
Twice.
thanks.
Thanks for that.
I guess.
I mean, it's like, you can have it. I don't want that.
Thanks.
I mean, I kind of do, but I want the other stuff more.
There's a lot of card draw here, though. Rainbow Shine gives card draw as long as you remember it. Selena Blue gives card draw. Silverstream gives card draw. Pinky's Present gives card draw. I like drawing cards.
They draw all the cards.
Tough Call gives card draw.
You should just pay all of your AT every game to just draw cards.
No,
And again,
Don't actually play anything, just draw all your cards.
there you go.
but the best way to draw cards in this deck is to play things.
It's true. And it is also worth pointing out that very much like some of the previous lists we've seen, there's not a whole lot that's rotating out of this one. You lose Sonata Dusk,
Which
you
really,
lose Sakura, and you lose Napcakes.
those three
And
really
trading
sting.
traditions.
Though. That also stings.
Sure. But when every deck loses Trading Traditions, the field becomes...
Well,
And it's not
Kinda.
like losing Sonata doesn't allow you to replace it immediately with more honks.
This is true, actually. This is very true.
So, very, very fun list. Hey, that was a pretty diverse top 16.
You want to look at some stats?
Sure, give me numbers, give me stats.
Let's see. So here we've got the Reddit post with the results. So mains by popularity. I'm not real surprised at our top two, Tempest and Baluna.
You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it. Yeah.
A lot of Changeling Pretenders. As many as Trigger, so.
Too many traders. 3 farming decks. Nurturing Nature, good yellow main. I find it
Go ahead.
I find it kind of interesting that more people went for Baluna. I think that's more of a tried and true deck.
Yeah, there are other blue mains that you could aggro with, but Luna is just so efficient.
Yeah.
And I think she's better in that anyway. I think the burst is better than the consistent pressure.
yeah, I think Bluna was the correct call for this meta.
All right. Let's see. What else we got here?
Well, the most popular card played overall by almost a full order of magnitude is Fire of Friendship. And I wonder how many times it actually got played.
Not surprised. Like, I'm really, really not surprised with like the top 4 here. Fire Friendship, Lacking Lesson Plans, Staff of Sakanas, Trading Traditions. It's like those are meta staples or something.
Once you go down, you start getting into some more interesting stuff. Brian is up there. Unsatisfactory Work is higher than Napcakes.
Well, we did see a large number of yellow-based decks, so
Kind Pony, just as many as Miss Main.
yeah, that one's starting to get weird.
School Shutdown being only one less than Kind Pony. Yeah, there's some cool stuff. And way down there at the bottom is Cover to Cover.
Yeah, I think that one's actually kind of surprising, but the meta does seem to be turning away from her.
I think people are starting to flip her a few too many times in face-offs and feeling really sad.
Yeah, it's fair.
Liability not worth it anymore, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay.
How about cards just by presence in decks?
Let's see. Top 5 unsurprising, I think. It's interesting how quickly the barrel doesn't see play, but I guess there aren't that many decks that are really doing like crazy try and more color stuff.
Mm-hmm. But the ones that are absolutely need that card.
Uh-huh. Got Stick's popular, Trading Traditions. That unsurprising.
It is worth noting that even though Stick is the 4th most popular card by presence in decks, It saw play in less than half of the total participants' decks in any number of copies. Whereas Trading Traditions saw play in 2/3 of participants' decks. And Lacking Lesson Plans just behind it.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm really not surprised. Those truly are meta staples.
Yep. Well, were meta staples.
Fair. All right.
Bye. Not gonna miss them.
Now let's see here.
You'll miss them a little.
Yeah, you're gonna miss them. Don't even lie.
I'm really not.
All right. Looking at the main and colors breakdown, though, tells a rather interesting story. There are a handful of things that are popular. Balloona Yellow, Tempest Pink-White Control, but there's also a lot of far more unique decks in here. So I think the meta that we saw was actually fairly diverse.
You're always going to have certain decks that are going to be more popular, either because they're more accessible or they have a tendency to do well. And I think that's actually exactly what we saw with the top two lists here. Princess Luna Dream Warrior Yellow is not only pretty accessible for people to play, but also does very well as an aggro deck. Tempest Shadow Storm Commander Pink with white as a third color is a little bit less accessible, but also has that toolbox potential that a lot of players like, where they can really tweak it and make it their own. And despite being hit with ban after,
it's lost a lot of cards, that's true.
It still ended up here, which means something was clearly working. So people probably were attracted to the win record.
Uh-huh.
2 people played Thorax because they wanted to make Aura upset.
One of those was true.
No, both of those were true. Traitor to the Hive.
And from there, we've got a lot of diversity all the way down.
But importantly, 3 people played Changeling Pretender, trying to make me not upset.
There you go.
All right, well, I think that covers the most relevant of the statistics. I can't wait for Cursed Chords to hopefully put out a definitive state of the Equestrian Odyssey's Defenders block core meta. Is the with that format rotating out for Defenders and Leaders block core, it's going to be interesting to see how it changed and what the final tally is.
Yes, it will. By the way, in case you missed it over the last week, the format has indeed rotated because Leaders and Legends has released.
What's Leaders and Legends, Precious? Tell me more.
Leaders and Legends is the first print and play legal set, which was designed by Commentarios Magic and has been released for players all around the world to use. It is legal in all organized play events and tournaments. And I believe we have many posts up on Reddit and Facebook and Discord and just about every channel where you can see the cards and print them out yourself. Multiple players are working on trying to get organized runs together. And of course, you can always view all the cards on Ponyhead.
Or the Royal Archive.
Or the Royal Archive. And speaking of Leaders and Legends, and you know these 145 new cards, and stats, since we just got over all those stats, you know what time it is?
It's Cocoa time.
Well, yes, it is Cocoa time. Tell us more about Cocoa.
Well, I'll tell you more about Cocoa. with core rotating to remove Equestrian Odysseys block and include the Leaders and Legends block, it's going to be a whole new meta. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this meta develops. And if you want to be on the bleeding edge of finding out what this looks like and helping shape it, you should sign up for Coco. Get you a link here to the Reddit post. And it's going to be very interesting, I think.
I don't know what to play. There's like 1,000 decks I want to run.
Well, it'd be a darn shame if a couple of people didn't just showcase a bunch of decks, a day or so ago, huh?
Oh,
you
yeah.
should sign up like multiple times under different decks and then have to play like 6 or 7 games.
Just don't run into yourself.
I think I'd rather not do that.
I don't
But
know.
if you want even more numbers, because Coco isn't good enough, and Coco is plenty good enough, it's about time for that annual tradition.
Slogfest?
Slogfest. Look how excited we are. It's Slogfest time.
Oh, no. No, this is going to be great.
I mean, I have fun during Slogfest.
Oh, I do too. I just know what 5 hours of streaming does.
It causes all kinds of fun as we go through every single card in the Leaders and Legends set and give it a ranking from 0 to 5 based on how we feel it's going to impact the meta. Spoilers, it normally takes 4 or 5 hours. There's a lot of cards.
And that stream is going to be going live next week on Sunday, probably early. We normally like to start that early so that we're not till like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I mean, being on the East Coast, I'm going to be up till 1 a.m. anyway, so
Well, then we'll make it so you're not up till 3 a.m.
that would be preferable.
It's totally fine. After all,
We'll
that's
see.
that's what the recordings are for, right? Okay.
That's right.
Disregard sleep, acquire Slogfest.
There you go. Well, at least once a year. And we'll
Disre-
see who we get as a special guest this time around as well.
Yeah. Disregard sleep, rate ponies. All of the ones,
Perfect 5 out of 7. All ponies.
Except for the Trader to the Hive.
All ponies.
No,
Not a pony.
not a pony.
All ponies.
Hey, no, hold on. There was that promo that the Hub released back in the day, where it's like Life Without Ponies, and then Spike's there. So definitive proof, Spike is not a pony.
Fair enough.
I completely forgot about that.
Ha!
All right. Well,
Tricks year
think
10 or no tricks year 10. Yes.
I mean, that is the best grading scale, clearly.
Okay, let's see. I think we had one other thing to do here.
Yes. It should be mentioned that along with the release of Leaders and Legends came a number of documents clarifying how print and play was going to work, because it's the first set that's been available in this format. And since that time, several players have brought up concerns or suggestions for how they would like to see this handled.
To make it easier for players to get access to the cards. And some things that, quite frankly, were just overly restrictive. So, though a document update was issued last Sunday, essentially as Ciderfest was closing, a small addendum to correct some of those issues will be released shortly. So be on the lookout for that. And we will, of course, post that in all of the usual places.
Of course. And so hopefully that will alleviate some of the concerns that certain groups or players had. And as always, we will continue to review the rules and regulations regarding how print and play and the rest of the game is organized, and can release updates when changes are necessary.
Mm-hmm. I think we've already got a couple of ankle bracelets out.
Oh yeah, there's some ponies that are going to be going back in boxes, I think. We'll have to see. Anyway, that will about wrap up our discussion on this topic for today. We would, of course, like to give a big shout out to all of our patrons on Patreon. Thank you so much for your regular support. If you aren't currently a patron and you enjoy our content creation, please consider donating. Doing so does enable us to continue making it. If you have comments or questions you'd like to send our way, or if you're just interested in hearing about what we're working on for the future, there are many ways you can stay in contact. We have our Patreon, as mentioned previously, but you can also reach us through Facebook, Twitter, and email. And patrons at or above the $5 per month level will also get access to our Slack channel, where you can chat live with us any day, anytime, especially if we are traveling internationally and awake at ungodly hours.
I was up at 5 a.m. last night.
You were working on paperwork.
I was working on paperwork.
He is a dedicated pony. If you
No,
are looking to watch
full Twilight here.
Full Twilight, right. If you're looking to watch any of our previous videos, including tournament recordings, like from Continentals, you can find them on our YouTube channel, which is linked in the sidebar, and please make sure to subscribe so we can get a channel URL that is a little easier to remember. But with all that said, thank you to each and every one of our viewers, both here now and watching this recording later. We are, as always, Commentary is Magic. I am, as always, Grandpaws.
Big Cheese is still dead to the world, but I'm still Arcat.
And I'm Ivory Starlight.
We'll see you all next week.
Slugfest! See, he's not even going to give that one a goodbye.
Bye.
Wow. Bye-bye.